The countdown is on, but you're not alone. This is Countdown to College, your weekly guide from Education Quest Foundation, here to help you plan, apply, and pay for college one step at a time. I'm your host, Gage, and today I am joined once again by Jacquie Butler, a senior college planning specialist here at Education Quest. Hi, Jacquie. Thank you for agreeing to let me pick your brain for what I think is our fourth episode together this season.
I think so.
So, like I mentioned, Jacquie and I have done quite a few episodes this year breaking down the FAFSA. So, if you missed any of those, go back and give them a listen. There's lots of great advice and tips in there. And most recently, we explained how to complete the FAFSA. So, today we're going to kind of talk about like everything that comes after that. So, Jacquie, once again, before we dig into it, for anyone who is brand new to the FAFSA process, can you just remind listeners what FAFSA stands for and why it's such a key step for students?
You bet I can. So, the FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So, it is a free form that students and their parents are completing to be considered for federal, state, and some college based financial aid.
And Jacquie, we've been talking all month long about completing the FAFSA. And so once a
Mhm.
student completes their FAFSA, they hit submit. Is it time to celebrate or what will they receive back? What's next?
Well, they can celebrate because at least they got through that part. But approximately 3 days after they submit the FAFSA, the student is going to receive an email from Federal Student Aid. And the student doesn't have to do anything with that email. It's basically confirming that their information was processed and it was passed on to the college or colleges that they listed on the FAFSA form. The email will include a link to studentaid.gov, allowing the student to log back into that site using their FSA ID, and they'll be able to view a FAFSA submission summary. That FAFSA submission summary is needed on some scholarship applications, so it is kind of an important piece of the puzzle.
Now, what's all included in the FAFSA submission summary, which is kind of a mouthful, so we'll shorten it to FSS.
Oh, thank you. Lots of acronyms today, by the way.
Yeah.
So the FSS will include the student's SAI, which is the Student Aid Index. The Student Aid Index is the result of the FAFSA calculation. So it's a number, and the colleges use that SAI number to award financial aid to the student. The FAFSA submission summary will also indicate if the student was selected for verification. And finally, if the student needs to make any corrections on the FAFSA or add any colleges to their FAFSA form, maybe they came on the radar late or something, this is the place to make those changes.
And I know, Jacquie, you mentioned already that, you'll receive this through your email. How do the colleges actually communicate like these important updates? And how often should students be looking for these messages?
That's a really good question. So the student's not finished once the FAFSA has been submitted. But once they are accepted for admission, colleges will provide the student with information to create their student account, otherwise known as a student portal. Most colleges will post notifications, to-dos, their financial aid offers, all things college related, they will post to that student portal. Other colleges, there are some colleges out there that still send emails to email communications to students as well. Um, Students don't want to miss out on any timely information or their viewing their financial aid offer. So they should get in the habit of checking that student portal for any notifications, any to-dos, any type of communications that come from the college. I generally tell them get in the habit of checking that, once or twice a week.
Yeah, you've probably heard us talk about it in a previous episode to check your email a
Mhm.
lot. And I mean, it's a good habit to get into also once you get into college and even the workforce is making sure to check your email
Absolutely.
even daily at some points.
Yes.
Like, all right, so you mentioned verification, Jacquie, earlier when we were discussing
Mhm.
the FSS. What does that mean? And who is usually selected for verification?
So verification is a process that colleges are required to perform to verify some of the information supplied on the student's FAFSA. So some students are selected for verification because information on the FAFSA seems inconsistent, maybe a key punch error or something. Um, then there are students who are just selected randomly for verification. So it used to be around 30% of all FAFSA applicants would have to complete the verification process, but that's dropped over the years. So, it's more like 20 to 25% of students who submit their FAFSAs are selected for verification.
I'm glad you explained that it's not something super serious because I remember back when I filled out the FAFSA, I was like, what's verification? What does that mean? That's
Mhm.
scary. And so if you are selected for verification, what kind of documents are we talking about that students or parents will be most often asked to provide?
Um, Generally, required documents may vary, obviously, from college to college. But some common required documents include generally like a tax return, W-2s from either parents or the student, maybe documentation of federal benefits that they said they received, or sometimes it's a household verification form where a student is filling that out, listing everybody in the household, dates of birth, etc., so that they make sure that those people can be considered in the household. It could also be a proof of status. So, like if a student marks a box that says they're under legal guardianship or they've been a ward of the court or in foster care, the college is going to request court documentation, verifying that that is indeed the situation. So, like you said, some people get nervous about verification. I always tell parents and students that verification isn't a scary process, but it is an important process. So if they are selected for verification, the student is the one who is notified. They need to be communicating this information with their parents, but a student must complete the verification process before the college will offer them financial aid. So, again, not scary, but very important.
I was just about to ask, and you kind of answered my question already, if it's important to, address the verification pretty
Yeah.
quickly. Great.
Mhm.
So talking more about timelines with colleges, when do colleges like typically release the financial aid offers and what's included in them?
So, first, the student must be accepted for admission before they'll be offered financial aid from a college. So, if you're hoping to receive an offer of financial aid, the student must submit their admission application. And I would do that as soon as you can so you start to receive those communications from the college. Colleges work hard to send financial aid offers out to students as soon as possible. Typically, colleges don't start processing financial aid until the end of this actual current semester that they're working on. So, students will usually see their financial aid offers posted about January, February, and even into March, depending upon the college and also how early the student got their FAFSA submitted. So, the financial aid offer indicates the types and amounts of financial aid the student can expect to receive from the college or what they're being offered from the college. It might include a combination of scholarships, grants, work study, and loans, or it could just be just loans they're being offered. So it depends upon the family's financial situation.
Yeah, that's a big reason why, we had our whole episode on Apply to College month, which was in October, because this is the perfect time to apply to college now so that you can then do the FAFSA and hopefully
Mhm.
get your financial aid offers as soon as possible.
It's kind of that domino effect. You just need to get
Yeah.
one thing done before the next can occur. Yes.
So if students are applying to multiple colleges and they listed multiple colleges on their FAFSA form, what's kind of the smartest way for families to compare these financial aid offers from different colleges?
There are a number of things that families need to consider, but after the student receives their financial aid offers from the colleges listed on their FAFSA, they should first consider how much in scholarships and grants are they being offered from each school, because that is considered gift aid. It's money that is free to the student. So they'll want to write down the cost of education from each college. They'll want to subtract that gift aid or those scholarships and grants. And the difference is the student's net price for that college. So then they're comparing the net prices from college to college. That will give them an idea of what they would need to come up with to cover their cost of education at each particular college. Another thing to keep in mind is whether the that's being offered or scholarships that are being offered through the college are renewable or are they one-time scholarships, meaning good for only 1 year. Families can get a better picture of which college offers the best financial aid package and determine if the student's top college is affordable. So those are some things to kind of consider. Again, those scholarships, are they renewable? A higher price college might offer more in gift aid or free money, making that net price less. And then sometimes, that lower cost of education at another institution, they might offer less gift aid. And so in the end, their net price might be more expensive. So it's always good to apply for admission and see what those colleges can offer.
We just did an episode with Jasmine Brown, another one of our college planning specialists,
Mhm.
talking about comparing colleges. And she kind of just mentioned, we talked about financial aid offers, how nice it is to kind of just lay it out on paper if you're a very visual person. Like
Mhm.
it can be a lot, there's a lot of numbers involved with all this. So if you can actually take the time to write some of this stuff out, it can help you a lot to
It
just see the
really
big
can.
picture.
Yeah, absolutely. It really gives you a better picture.
So Jacquie, let's talk about if, say, a student's financial aid package doesn't cover all of their
Mhm.
expenses. What options should families consider? What's out there?
Well, this is where outside scholarships come into play. So, students should really be proactive about finding scholarship opportunities and applying for as many scholarships as they can. We often tell students, apply for 30 to 40 scholarships. The more that you apply for, the more chances you have of receiving some of that free money, that money that you do not have to pay back. Um, Federal student loans and parent for students, so the federal student loans and the Parent Plus loans are actually a part of the student's financial aid package or financial aid offer from the college. So federal student loans, federal Parent Plus loans, they are considered financial aid. It's money that's borrowed and it must be repaid. So it's not the most attractive type of financial aid, but it is part of the federal financial aid offer. Students are offered a maximum of $5,500 for their freshman year in college, and then $6,500 as a sophomore, and $7,500 for their junior and senior years of college. So, some parents, perhaps the student takes out the amount that they're being offered in student loans. Some parents elect to borrow with a Parent Plus loan to help cover those expenses. Parents can borrow up to $20,000 per academic year per student with a lifetime total of $65,000. So if you're good at quick math, if they're going to a four-year college and they can borrow a maximum of $20,000 per year, you would say, well, that's $80,000, but the lifetime total is 65. So parents just want to be careful about how much they're borrowing each year. If a student plans to go to a four-year college, then it'd be more like, maybe tapping out at 16 and a quarter, something like that, 16,250 per academic year, so that they can make it through the 4 years if they need to borrow each of those 4 years for the student. Other options, many students take their general education classes at a community college. So students are really savvy, really money savvy these days, and they don't want to get into a lot of debt going to college. So they'll start out maybe taking their gen eds at a community college and then transfer to a four-year college if their career, requires a bachelor's degree. So that option certainly saves a significant amount on tuition costs. Um, Another strategy, and it might not be the most ideal for a student, but is to have the student live at home if they have that option, if they're going to college, near where their parents live. Living at home while attending a 2 or 4 year college, that can save you almost $10,000 a year in expenses. So that's a big chunk of change as well. So that's another option.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and plug our Scholarship Quest tool right here, which is a great resource. It can match you with any scholarships that maybe match like your activities or any of your involvements. You can find that on educationquest.org. You talked about direct loans, Jackie.
Mhm.
How do students actually apply for these direct loans, and is the process the same for parents?
Kind of, yeah. So if a student qualifies for a direct loan, it will be listed on their financial aid offer, as I had mentioned earlier. The college will provide instructions for the student on getting that loan, but basically the student is going to log into studentaid.gov with their FSA ID. So the same place that they completed the FAFSA, studentaid.gov. Um, they will have to complete what's called a master promissory note, and they will also have to do loan entrance counseling. So, that loan entrance counseling is just kind of a question answer session to let them know their rights and responsibilities of borrowing. And of course, the master promissory note is their promise to pay back those loans. The process is pretty similar for parents. They will work with the colleges to determine, what amount they might need to borrow, or perhaps the parent has already figured that out. They would go to studentaid.gov as well. The parent would log in with their FSA ID. They will also complete a master promissory note, and then they would complete what's called a Parent Plus loan form. I think the wording's a little bit different, but it's a Parent Plus loan form. It takes time to process those. So, a first time borrower, there's typically about a 30-day delay. So, I would recommend, after the dust is settled from, all of the scholarship providers selecting recipients and notifying those recipients, awards nights after, at the high schools, when those are said and done, and the student sees what's coming in from all of those sources and then determines, do I need to borrow? And if I do, how much do I need to borrow? Or how much do my parents need to borrow? We usually say June or the very beginning of July is a good time to sit down and complete that paperwork for student loans and or Parent Plus loans if you intend to take those out. Because again, there is just a little bit of a delay and we want to make sure that money is there when that first semester bill comes due.
I'm seeing the timeline all fall into place now.
Yeah.
Apply to college, FAFSA opens October 1st, get your scholarships in, see what you need, fill out your loan forms. College.
You've got it. I must have done a good job,
You
Gage.
did. You did.
No, you got it. That is exactly how it works.
All right, last question for you, Jackie. What is just your best advice for students to stay organized and avoid missing critical financial aid deadlines?
Well, it's important, number one, for students to check their email and their student portal often. So, like I said, once or twice a week, they need to log into those student portals to look for any communications coming from the college. If they're requesting any information, they need to respond quickly or get that information or documents back to the college as soon as possible. So, there are no delays there. Also, don't be afraid to reach out to the college directly with any questions you may have, whether it's college planning related, whether it's financial aid related. They're always there to help. And finally, Education Quest Foundation. We're a free resource. So, give us a call. We're here. We're always happy to help you through the FAFSA process. We're happy to help you answer questions. You can certainly schedule an appointment to speak with a college planning specialist or just reach out to us, like I said, and we'd be happy to point you in the right direction.
That's great. Okay, that wraps us up. Thank you again, Jackie, for joining us and for joining us like all season long. You've been a great help.
Well, you're welcome. I was happy to do it.
And to our audience, if you ever need help with anything college related, like Jacquie said, you can contact an Education Quest office near you for free help. You can find that contact information or schedule an appointment on educationquest.org. While you are there, make sure you sign up for the weekly Countdown to College email that is filled with weekly tips and tricks and deadlines and all the good reminders. And finally, just help us get this message out to as many students and families as possible by subscribing to this podcast on your favorite platform and hitting the like button on this episode. Thank you for watching and listening, and we will see you next week.